Hey investors, so in this video I want to go through Ark Invest's big ideas report. So I know that Cathy Wood is going through a bit of a rough patch right now, but her long-term record is still very enviable and is probably better than Warren Buffett. Of course, Warren Buffett has a more than 50-year track record, but in the 7 years that Ark Invest has been in business, I think it is outperformed Warren Buffett. But in any case, I think Cathy Wood does her research well. She is researching into these complex topics, and I feel that there's a lot of substance in a lot of her ideas. She predicted Tesla, she predicted Bitcoin, she predicted Square, Nvidia, Illumina, even Amazon. So she's definitely a good source for information. I may not agree with all her ideas, but I think it's definitely a good hunting ground to get good quality ideas. So let's take a look at this report. I might break up this video into a series of videos going through the report because one video will probably be too long, and I also will probably skip over the parts that I feel are not that important. So this is the contents page. So let's just briefly go through the headlines here. So we have artificial intelligence, that's one of our big ideas. Digital consumers, digital wallets, public blockchains, Bitcoin, Ethereum and DeFi, Web3, gene editing, multi-omics. This one is new, I've not really heard this before, I think. Electric vehicles, autonomous ride-hail, autonomous logistics, 3D printing, orbital aerospace. So we'll go through each of these ideas in detail. So I think Cathy Wood breaks down her ideas into 5 platforms and 14 technologies. So the 5 platforms are these over here, which are artificial intelligence, robotics, energy storage, DNA sequencing, and blockchain technology. So I get these are the bigger ideas, and then she has these 14 transformative technologies that she says are going to be subsets, I think, of those 5 bigger ideas. So we can take a look at these 14 technologies over here. These seem a little different from the contents page, where you have multi-omics, electric vehicles. There are 14 over here as well, and there are 14 here as well. So I guess they overlap a little. But anyway, I think what she's saying is also that a lot of these technologies are going to converge, and that's going to feed each other, and so it's going to make their growth trajectory even stronger. I didn't see cloud computing or IoT or living therapies mentioned in the contents page. So I guess maybe they are further subsets of some of these other technologies. So this is how I think Ark Invest sees these technologies evolving. So AI, for example, is going to go to a market cap of 108 trillion from currently about 10.5 trillion in 2020. Battery technology is going to have a CAGR of about 35%. Blockchain about 43%. Robotics about 51%. Gene sequencing about 40%. I think the other takeaway from this representation is that AI will probably be the biggest among all these platforms at about 108 trillion compared to the rest. So on the next page, we see that currently they think that the market opportunity is about 14 trillion for these technologies, but they're going to grow up to 210 trillion by 2030. You can see the bubbles becoming bigger basically. So AI is the one that's going to be the biggest apparently. Okay, so now I think they start breaking down the platforms into their subgroups. So first up is AI. So I'll just read this through because I haven't read it myself, so I want to go through it as well. So first up, we have mobile connected devices. So humans could be enmeshing a constellation of connected devices that will inform us, entertain us, relate us, protect us, and mediate our perceptions of the world. Device constellations likely will be the dominant software development platforms, providing primary endpoint distribution and productivity benefits. Legacy computation manufacturers and operating system providers could be in peril. I'm not sure who she's referring to here. Along with media, entertainment, and content production companies with business models optimized for legacy distribution platforms. So I definitely think, the mobile phone is probably the center of most of our lives. What comes to mind here is Apple perhaps, but Ark Invest doesn't have Apple in their portfolio, I think. But I definitely see the mobile phone growing in further importance. We'll do even more things on the mobile phone. Let's read the next one, Internet of Things. So Internet of Things could transform the distribution of media, providing end users with new ways to interface with the world and capturing data streams that enable the evolution of new business models and services. Consumer habits could be modified significantly and monetized in new ways. Voice interfaces should take share of e-commerce. Digital mirrors should become fashion and exercise interfaces. And the age of linear TV could end. Yeah, we're definitely seeing a decline in linear TV. Digital distribution platforms are likely to accrue power as they promote private label content and services. So again, I think here is what she's talking about is it's not just mobile phones, it's going to be TVs, it's going to be refrigerators and other appliances that are all interconnected. KAI. Seemingly impossible problems could be solved by software and other computational systems that learn and change by integrating new data. These evolving systems should transform work and accelerate computational technology integration into all economic sectors. The adoption of learning systems could prove more momentous than the introduction of the internet, transforming all economic sectors including healthcare and financial services. Okay, so I definitely think that AI is going to be big. But in my personal portfolio, I'm not sure if there's a pure play AI, company that I would invest in. I have Amazon, I have Google, and I think these two companies are going to be quite strong in AI, and even Facebook. There's another company that I'm looking at, C3.ai, that seems like a pure play. But again, the most important factor for me is having a very good established moat. So besides the FANGs that I mentioned, Amazon and Google in particular, I'm not sure if other companies have that moat yet. But we'll go through this in further detail as we read more of the report. So let's look at the next one, cloud computing. So concentrated computational infrastructure could allow every device to harness the power of supercomputers, enabling continuous data-driven improvements on the software side. Best-in-class solutions are likely to accrue winner takes winner take more share in each vertical as customers lock in drives superior economics. End user productivity should drive pricing and should improve continuously based on data informed solutions. Legacy software and hardware providers are likely to be vulnerable. Okay, so the legacy providers, we know who she's talking about, especially the old IBM perhaps. I'm definitely a big fan of cloud computing. I mean, the reason I own Amazon as one of my biggest positions is because of cloud computing. And I do see a moat here in some of these stocks that I own. I mean, as you get into their ecosystem, they're going to be high switching costs if you want to change from Amazon to another cloud provider. And then, of course, these big three cloud providers have so much scale that they're able to provide their service at much better economics. So I definitely think cloud computing is a big trend. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Now this is one that I've not really invested in directly myself, so it's good to learn more about it. Battery technology could enable autonomous mobility, generating more than 30 trillion in market capitalization by 2030. Battery technology. Declining battery costs could yield a Cambrian explosion in mobility form factors. I don't know what Cambrian means. Pushing electrical supply out to network nodes and reducing EV prices enough to compete with traditional gas-powered cars. Okay, so this we're definitely seeing. The Tesla and other electric cars are becoming cheaper and cheaper. Micro-mobility and aerial systems, including flying taxis, could transform landscapes and accelerate demand for electric energy, displacing liquid fuel. I think so. I mean, I think that these air taxis have potential. Traditional automotive manufacturers and their suppliers could topple. Oil demand globally is in the process of peaking and infrastructure will likely have to adapt. Yeah, I definitely think some of these points are true. I wouldn't want to invest in those legacy car manufacturers like Ford or GM, although they have these divisions with them which are focused on electric vehicles and autonomous driving, which are certainly going to grow. I'm not sure. I mean, I like Boeing. I'm not sure if Boeing will get into electric planes. Let's read on for the next part here. Autonomous mobility. Battery-powered robots moving people and parcels could operate atop legacy transportation infrastructure, transforming the economics of physical movement by order of magnitude. Taxi service could become the norm and ownership of personal vehicles the exception. So this is quite a bold prediction that people are going to stop owning vehicles and just use an autonomous taxi everywhere. Frictionless delivery could turbocharge e-commerce, so e-commerce is going to become even more of a norm. And autonomous mobility-driven data should provide real-time insights into the state of the world. Incumbent providers in the automotive, logistic, retail, and insurance sectors could be upended. Interesting. I guess if a company like Geico is just depending on people owning cars and then buying insurance, their business model could be affected a lot. But I still think that this is very far off into the future. I don't think it's going to happen so quickly. I mean, it's taken years for Waymo to start, their autonomous ride-hailing service in San Francisco and in Phoenix, Arizona. I think it's quite far off, I think. So I don't think companies like Geico are going to collapse like overnight or even in the next few years. Okay, let's look at the next one. Robotic advances could generate more than 10 trillion in equity capitalization by 2030. So this is the one that I've been excited about. But again, I don't see any clear-cut investing opportunities for me. 3D printing. 3D printing could transform traditional manufacturing methods by removing design barriers and reducing costs, weight, and time to production. Already, healthcare tools created with 3D printing can be personalized, enhancing experience for both patients and doctors. This makes a lot of sense to me. Like 3D printed aerospace parts could reduce global emissions and give flight to new aircraft for Earth and outer space. 3D printing with artificial intelligence could design on-demand innovative parts better suited to their end applications at a fraction of traditional manufacturing cost. I think it definitely makes sense. I know there's Nano Dimension. I mean, that's one of the 3D printing companies that I know of. But again, I don't know what the mode is here. Maybe if one becomes like an operating system, then maybe I would invest in one. Robotics. Collaborative robots powered by artificial intelligence could flourish in increasingly dynamic environments, transforming the economy. Harnessing the power of AI, robots likely will learn, form, and adapt to the world around them, lowering upfront and training costs. More companies are likely to participate, supercharging productivity across industries. I think some of these e-commerce warehouses definitely use a lot of robots to automate the whole process. So, I mean, that's something Amazon could provide as a service, I guess, to other companies. Which I think they're actually doing, if I'm not mistaken. Reusable rockets. Once a ludicrous notion, nearly every launch provider today appears to be making plans for rocket reuse. Yeah, thanks to Elon Musk, which should lower costs by order of magnitude and enable exciting new business models. Given the economics of rocket use, both low Earth orbit constellations and hypersonic point-to-point travel could become feasible. Transforming military asset delivery, shrinking the world's supply chains, and enabling economical broadband connectivity anywhere on Earth. Of course, this is a reference to SpaceX and their Starlink project. So interesting. I mean, again, I don't see any obvious investment ideas for me in this field, but they're interesting ideas to be aware of. Okay, let's look at the next one. Genomics technologies could drive more than 3 trillion in equity market capitalization by 2030. So in this space, I have invested in Illumina. I think gene sequencing is going to become quite common. Let's read about it. Gene sequencing. As genome sequencing costs fall, tests once limited to research labs should be deployed widely, spurring volume increases by 3 orders of magnitude. I think so, I agree with that. Pan-cancer blood tests are likely to scale and commercialize. Therapeutic treatment should become more precise and efficacious, and highly effective measures against inherited complex disorders should become prophylactic. Illumina has bought a Grail, which can do these blood tests to detect for cancer. So they have a good opportunity there as well, I think. Importantly, gene sequencing advances could extend into agriculture and materials science. Legacy drug franchises and traditional diagnostic testing businesses likely will be vulnerable. This is an interesting one for me. Living therapies. So, genetic tools that create new forms of therapeutic intervention could emerge, enabling precise, efficacious, and durable treatments against pernicious and chronic diseases. The promise of curing disease could boost investment in tooling and delivery infrastructure that's likely to command and sustain premium prices while improving health outcome. Okay, so I think basically just using genetic information to come up with better treatments. Advances in this field could set the stage for cultivated protein products that transform the economics of food production. Companies with early stage cancer franchises could be at risk. So I think the important takeaway here also is that genomics is not just going to be applicable to human health, but also to other industries like agriculture and material science. And I could buy that. I think that's possible. I mean, a lot of food is already genetically modified. Gene editing. Editing technology can insert or delete genes in targeted portion of the human genome. Catalyzed by the 2012 discovery of CRISPR, these molecular editors are effective, inexpensive, and accessible technologies that could advance our ability to understand and manipulate biological systems. In health settings, they allow for faster and more precise preclinical experimentation, improving the probability of early stage research entering clinical trials. At the therapeutic level, they enable the repair of genetic disorders and curative treatments for rare diseases. This revolutionary gene technology, alongside emerging genetic synthesis techniques, could expand further into agriculture, food production, pest control, materials, and energy. I think this is an exciting opportunity. Again, I'm not that knowledgeable to invest in this field, I think, unless it's a very, very obvious idea. Okay, this is the final platform. So let's look at this. Ark expects crypto assets and digital wallets to command nearly 50 trillion in equity market capitalization by 2030. Well, crypto's at 2 trillion already and nobody predicted that. So, 50 trillion is definitely possible, I think. Blockchain. All money contracts could migrate to open source protocols that enable and verify digital scarcity and proof of ownership. The financial ecosystem could be forced to reconfigure to take advantage of the capabilities these technologies afford, potentially leading to more transparency, fewer capital and regulatory controls, and significantly lower contract execution costs. So definitely referring to DeFi over here. More of everything could become money-like, fungible, liquid, quantifiable. Every corporate entity and consumer will have to adapt. Corporate structures might be called into question. Every sector could be impacted. I mean, these seem again like very far off if they will happen at all. I mean, some of these things are happening, but again, I don't know if banks will become totally irrelevant and everything is going to shift over to DeFi. Digital wallets. Digital wallets allow anyone with a connected device to transact money instantly, transforming commercial and financial experiences. Consumers hold the power bank branch in their pockets and demand wholesale pricing for many financial transactions, changing their relationships with financial service providers. We believe that trillions in annual cash transactions will be digitized, presenting a data monetization opportunity roughly equivalent to that of Google search. Digital wallets could become the point of contact for a variety of digital services. Traditional financial services institutions could be at risk. So I definitely believe in digital wallets. That's one of the reasons I invest in PayPal. PayPal has Venmo, and I mean it's also trying to transform its main app also, I think, into a super app with a lot of other financial services. Personally, I don't use PayPal that much. Maybe it's because I live outside of the US and I can't access Venmo. But I do use some mobile wallets that are present here. So I definitely think mobile wallets are something very convenient and good to use. And I do see a lot of other financial transactions moving on to mobile wallets. Square is another obvious one that is in this space, and I like Square as well. And I have a little position in Square, but my preference is for PayPal. So we'll end this video on this slide, and in future videos we'll probably go into the ideas in more detail. So convergence across technologies could amplify their potential. So this is another big claim Ark Invest makes. So converging technologies, the conversion of robotics, battery technologies, and artificial intelligence likely collapse the cost structure of transportation, impacting the economics of auto, rail, and airline activities. So Tesla obviously is a prime example here. There's all these technologies coming into play. But again, I still don't see a Tesla driving itself autonomously everywhere. But it could happen in the next few years. But again, I think regulators are going to be careful about that. The convergence of next generation DNA sequencing, artificial intelligence, and gene therapy should boost returns on investment, significantly potentially creating a golden age of healthcare, likely to rival that of the 80s and 90s. The convergence of application programming interfaces, APIs, social platforms, and blockchain technologies could integrate business and consumer marketplaces, disintermediating the middleman dominating financial ecosystems. So you see the fine print over here. Forecasts are inherently limited and cannot be relied upon. I think we have to bear that in mind. So these are just forecasts. We don't know how true they are, but they're definitely good ideas to research further on. So you can see here, this is what Ark Invest expects by 2030. You can see these bubbles will intersect with each other, and a lot of these bubbles seem to be intersecting with AI in particular. Blockchain is at one corner without much intersection with digital wallets and Internet of Things only. Cloud computing, okay. So it'll be interesting next few years with all these technologies for sure. So that's this video. I hope to go through other parts of the report in more detail in future videos. If you like this report, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and stay tuned to further updates. Thank you for watching and have a great day.